Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast, episode number 73. I am your host, Casey Kelderman. Joined with me on the line is my co-host, Mr.
Brian
Mensing.
Your delay threw me off.
No, I'm just doing a big fancy introduction for you, Brian.
Yeah,
it wasn't very fancy.
Yeah.
But on the line, Brian, we do have a guest this week for a very fun episode that we're doing here. On the line is professional wrestling commentator and the director of SuperCon, Charlie Eccles.
Yeah, woo! I have so many jobs.
Woo.
I have so many jobs.
I had to go full Tony Chimmel on your entrance.
SuperCon. Oh, every time that they replay that for Edge, and now that Edge is back, they'll never do it again. But whenever Edge would come back, Tony Chimmel would do that for him, just to make him pop. Oh, it was so funny, so funny. I love that bit.
So this week we're going to be doing something. We kind of tested the waters with this during Christmas time. We did a Christmas story commentary back then. Today we thought it was only prompt that we would talk wrestling, because wrestling is something all three of us enjoy. Charlie probably more than me and Brian combined. But
well, we got WrestleMania coming up this week. I mean, that's a big thing. So
yeah, we got a number of things coming up. Yeah, like you said, WrestleMania is this week. All three of us are self-quarantined for that. But with that being said, it is also going to be the 20th anniversary of the film that we are talking about today, Ready to Rumble.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
It's a movie. So, Ready to Rumble, year 2000. We'll get into a little bit of the WCW history at that time as we're talking during the movie, because we're going to be giving our own commentary to this movie. I know we have all seen it. Brian, you watched this for the first time a few days ago. Charlie, how many times had you seen this movie before?
Oh, I don't know if I could really even tell you. It's not as many as you would think, to be honest. I've never owned this movie. I remember watching it when it first came out. And I obviously remember everything that WCW did alongside with it. But my most recent time that I watched it, it was it wasn't this last June. It was, oh gosh, I don't remember the date. Really, that's not important. I was in Minneapolis for 2 days of a festival called WrestlePalooza, and they do that at First Avenue. It's First Wrestling. I was there as a fan, and me and my friend Tyson were all up there, and Amanda was there, and Nicole was there, and our friend Sean. We met a bunch of people there, but David Arquette was actually a part of the show. So... and that was on the second day. He wrestled Colt Cabana the second day. But the funniest part was that we went to a bar called Up Down in Minneapolis, which is basically just a barcade. But they have giant projector screens going up. Now, Up Down, it also happened to be a sponsor of WrestlePalooza, so that was a big reason why we wanted to go. And they were playing Ready to Rumble on their giant screens in the bar with full sound, mind you, while everybody was playing video games during that. And I was just kind of watching it because I was more interested in playing Ninja Turtles and Skee-Ball. But my friend Tyson was sitting at the bar, bellied up, just downing Jameson straight and quoting the entire movie in the bar the entire frickin' time. It was one of my favorite moments in me and Tyson's relationship, I think. But that was the last time I watched it, so...
Boy, you're making it sound like we should have had Tyson on here, too. Holy cow.
Oh, God. Tyson was so funny. And especially right now with the self-quarantine. And Brian, you've met Tyson. I know that. Yeah. I don't know, Casey, if you have or not. But with self-quarantining, like Tyson will probably be one of the lone survivors of self-quarantining, but he is going to be drunk when he survives right now because I can guarantee he's probably watched this movie at least once during the time of self-quarantining. It was so funny. But he's probably not of sound mind to be on right now, to be honest. So.
Nor should any of us be to watch Ready to Rumble, though.
I know, and it's a beautiful day. Like, I wish, as everything was going on, I was like, oh, yesterday we were getting that weird rain and snowflakes, and then this morning I woke up and I stayed up late watching movies and slept in a little bit, and I woke up and I'm like, oh, it's a gorgeous day out. Oh man, we should have recorded yesterday so I could actually go get some vitamin D. But I'm totally willing to just sit on my ass on my couch while everybody's doing this. So.
You're getting sort of a wrestling fix today. I think that helps out a little bit.
Yeah, well, I am. And later today, I know that I'm actually recording a second podcast with Mr. Andy Heller, and we're going to be talking about The Wrestler. So I'm getting my movie and my wrestling fix here. So a little bit more to come, but I had made the recommendation. I know Andy was, trying to get a few things taken care of before he started up the podcast again. But I had made the recommendation, like, while we're doing this, why don't you and I just record the episode we talked about recording? So since our feud is squashed at this point, and the Emperor is not going to be on there, Casey. So we'll be recording an episode just to talk about the movie The Wrestler. So I'm getting kind of both ends of the spectrum when it comes to wrestling movies today.
Yeah, you're getting you're gonna record the best one ever with Andy the Fat Dude, and you're recording the worst one ever with us.
It's really true.
You're hitting both ends of the spectrum for sure. So Brian, you watched this for the first time this past weekend.
Yeah.
What did you think? Brief overall thoughts before we jump into this.
Well, you make the comment about it being one of the worst in comparison to like the Wrestler, and obviously the Wrestler is a fantastic film, but I also take into consideration this film is 2000. It's 20 years ago was a whole different kind of thing. Arquette was, a big name for himself because of like the Scream series and everything like that. I personally think it has a really great soundtrack to go along with it, and it's just a good, fun movie. I went in the process of us preparing for this. I bought the film, and I don't regret it. It was fantastic to the point where I'm like, I will definitely rewatch this movie.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because you're right. David Arquette was legitimately on top of his game when this movie came out. Like, probably the height of his popularity. And I think I strongly forget that because, I live in the world of professional wrestling, because while David Arquette was at the top of his game, this was the bottom of WCW's game. So that it's just so funny that you even mentioned that in that light. So.
Yeah, I did not give this movie $10 because I gave it probably close to like $50 growing up, renting it every single week from the gas station video rental place. So this movie has gotten its money worth out of me. I grew up loving this movie just because at that point when I was watching wrestling religiously, this was the only wrestling movie out there pretty much that I was allowed to watch. I think I was more obsessed with the cage match style more than anything else in this movie, and we'll get into that as we watch the movie because I love that match so much. Yeah. I think that was the only reason I was obsessed with Ready to Rumble as a kid, and it was fun, watching Goldberg and Macho Man appear in a movie. But I think even as a kid, I knew it was terrible.
It didn't have anything to do with the Nitro Girls.
No, nothing to do with the Nitro Girls.
Oh gosh, I now that you say that, like, I forgot we even had Nitro Girls. Like, man,
what a time!
The late '90s and early 2000s were a weird time. We have come a long way.
I will tell you, Charlie. One of the reasons it was actually a quote from that movie I was waiting for, because it's on the soundtrack and it's talking about the Nitro Girls. I'm like, I just need to see when this shows up because I know this quote is coming.
Well, and so many of those Nitro girls, maybe not so many, but at least 2 of them married wrestlers. So,
All right. Yeah. Are you guys ready to get into this?
Yes.
Are you ready to rumble? Is what Casey meant to say?
Yes. I said, are you ready to rumble?
Oh my god.
So let's do this. Let's start it off. So Ready to Rumble, the year 2000, stars David Arquette, Oliver Platt, Scott Caan, and the entire WCW roster. Directed by Brian Robbins, written by Stephen Brill. So how this is going to work, we all have the movie queued up at our places right now. So if you guys are listening to this right now and you want to kind of watch along with us, get the movie queued up. It's available for rent everywhere for like $3 or $4. Totally worth it to watch us or listen to us give riffs on Ready to Rumble. And
this is one movie I would not be upset if people are like, I'm not going to pay for this. Where can I get this for free?
Yeah,
and for legal purposes.
You're not hurting anyone. WCW is not around anymore. It's all good.
Right. David Arquette is still around, but he's got friends' money, so
he doesn't
fine. Care. He's doing fine.
Yeah, so find the movie any way you can. We all have it queued up to the opening thing. So yeah, I'll give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and we'll all click play at the same time. So yeah, you guys ready to go? Are you ready to?
I think so.
All right, so we're gonna all hit play at the same time in 3, 2, 1. All right. So we got the opening WB logo, just so everybody is queued up at the same time as all of us.
So what you're saying is WB should be very proud of this film.
Sure.
Yep. Warner Brother.
Warner Brothers. And you get that terrifying image of Sid Vicious right at the beginning.
I love that they used 2 Sid Vicious images right away. Like a guy who could not hate professional wrestling more these days, I think.
I never understood the use of those opening images. They're so terrifying to open your sort of family-friendly wrestling movie up with.
Is this family-friendly, though?
No. This is not family-friendly.
It's PG-13.
Okay. Haystacks Calhoun. Of all people. Luthez and Bruno Sammartino, like the 2 most honored professional wrestlers of all time.
This is a classy movie, Charlie.
Oh, Mil Mascaras. Oh, man. Wow. This is
Goldberg.
Bill.
Are you on a first-name basis with him, Brian?
No.
Okay, so as this movie opens, I have a question.
Yes.
And I don't know if this is a question that we could answer on this. Why did they just not use a actual WCW superstar instead of a made-up one of Jimmy the King?
That's a great question, but I don't know who would have played like an actual who would have wanted to put their character out there, especially in WCW at the time. Because you got to remember, WCW at the time, they had people making like $2, $3, $4, $5 million a year and able to just make their own calls. Like, no, I'm not going to lose to that guy. Oh, okay. Well, you're not going to do that. Well, I got paid already. I am not going to be even on the show. So.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, there was plenty of guys on the roster at that time that do have acting chops. I mean, even DDP in this movie, Diamond Dallas Page, he's pretty good in the movie.
Wasn't DDP in one of the Rob Zombie movies?
Yeah, he's been in a couple. I know he was in Devil's Rejects for sure.
That's the one. Yeah. Arquette.
in typical Arquette fashion. You know, the funny thing is, for like the early 2000s with like Scott Caan, this is probably like one of the smarter roles that he did, where he didn't play an absolute like dumb jock. Like, look at him here compared to like Varsity Blues.
He left the dumb part to Arquette in this movie.
Right. I will say this much though: if there's one thing I appreciate about this opening sequence here, with this right here, is I need more Amit Zappa in movies. He is fantastic. I'm so excited to see him as this store clerk.
Look at him.
He could have been a professional wrestler. Look at this guy.
I know.
Right?
Look at him.
He should have been an early 90s WWF grocery store clerk as his gimmick wrestler.
Oh yeah, it would have been great. Oh yeah, kick his ass, Arquette. Yeah, vertical suplex.
Yeah. Okay, so the funny thing about this movie, Scott Conn did all of his own stunts. Arquette had a stunt double, yet now here 20 years later, Arquette's the wrestler out of the two. How does that make any sense?
I don't know if it does.
Arquette's
And the
been
hero
hitting the head
of our
one too many
story. Oh, what was that, Brian?
times. Arquette's hit his head one too many times.
Well, maybe. He also made real dumb decisions as a wrestler as of late too, but he's also a real nice guy.
Yeah.
But what the? Yeah, that's not uncommon for Arquette these days. So
He is just death match prepping right there by driving his head into the glass window.
I love that Jimmy the King's finishing move is just a double axe handle.
The crown.
Even late WCW, like that is
20 years too late on a finishing maneuver.
oh my god.
So we should mention then who Jimmy the King is based off of. Jerry the King Lawler.
Is he actually based off of him, or like?
He is one of a couple of influences that I've heard that he's
Okay.
based off of.
We'll have to see, like, because Lawler doesn't necessarily have a bad rep, though. That's the thing. I mean, outside of his, dating women who are much younger than him, but that's the only thing. So oh god.
Here comes the blatant Mallrats ripoff joke here.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I look at this as like, was there a butt thing in the early mid '90s, 2000s that had to be a thing or something?
I mean,
At least he wasn't eating, chocolate pretzels. At least
it's true.
Yeah, that's exactly what this joke is. I think they just saw Mallrats. That was funny. Let's put that kind of joke in our movie.
Oh, but again, Zappa's reaction though is just perfect.
Oh my god, the butt fruit just settled on the bottom.
Oh, and this was the other part where I had a nice little grin here. A nice Varsity Blues reunion right here.
What, Varsity Blues was 99, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, they could have gone straight from the set of Varsity Blues to Ready to Rumble.
Hello?
Oh, you there, Casey?
Can you hear me?
Casey?
Are you there, Casey?
Yeah, we can hear you. There you go. What'd you say?
So Varsity Blues was 99.
Oh, yeah.
And this is 2000, so they could have very well have gone from the set of Varsity Blues to Ready to Rumble.
They were just available. He didn't even actually ask for the role. Wrestling.
This. Oh, yes.
The line of the movie, right there.
And he delivers it so well and so much passion.
He does.
Oh.
Oh my god. Why are we laughing at this? Why is this still funny?
It's one of two jokes that works in this movie.
Oh man. David.
Yeah. How many times have you used the wrestling's not fake line in your life?
Oh, that's not even countable. That's not even countable. Like, I don't even think that's fair for me to even try to count. Wrestling's not fake. I mean, you'll hear it just like at random wrestling shows from just about every show these days, but most people know that it's at least predetermined these days, but it's you still get those random gems of people who think it's a completely real sport.
And they'll come up to you. You know it's fake, right?
Oh God, it's so.
I love people like that.
It's 2020. You still watch that? Oh my God, you know it's fake, right? I'm like, yeah. So is Game of Thrones. You must love that.
So is every soap opera.
Yeah,
Wrestling is basically the man's soap opera.
that's what a lot of people say. They literally have a shit job.
This tells you what WCW really thought of their fans in the year 2000.
Oh, it's 100%. 100%.
This is all that they could ever amount to, is doing shit jobs and cleaning up porta potties.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what was the name of? Why can't I remember his name off the top of my head? Because my memory's going terrible. But what was the name of the guy who used to come out with Jericho all the time?
Rufus?
Rufus, that's what I thought it was, yeah. Why isn't he in this movie?
He should have came out of one of these porta potties right here.
Oh, that would have been one of the best first cameos. Rufus just comes out in a Jericho t-shirt that's cut off. I suppose Jericho was in WWE at the time.
Yes, yeah. Because, like, looking at this cast for the wrestlers in this movie, there's not a whole lot of star power left here from WCW. Like, Hogan's gone, Nash is gone, Hall's gone. Who do they have at this time that's the big mainstream star, I guess? Goldberg, pretty much?
Goldberg
Sting?
Yep. I'd still think that Sting is probably... Sting and DDP and Goldberg were probably the only three people who never worked for WWE beforehand that actually became stars in WCW.
Oh, more shit jokes. We love it.
Yeah, but that also looks like something you would do to somebody if you had that job, Casey.
Who's to say I haven't had this job, Brian?
This is actually a documentary of how Backlot 605 got started.
Exactly.
Yep. This is Ready to Rumble, the origin stories of Backlot 605.
There you go.
Which one's Brian, which one's Casey?
Oh, he's David Arquette easily.
Yeah, I was going to say, Charlie, I'll let you decide, but I'm pretty sure I'm probably the Arquette of this.
Oh, I'm gonna make sure that we leave that a mystery. If you're listening to this and you're watching along, hit up Twitter and vote which of the two of Brian or Casey is the David Arquette of their group.
Oh, please put that on Twitter. Oh, jeez. See that.
Truck full of ass juice. What a line. So,
and you'll use that going forward.
Truck full of ass juice, yes. I want to bring up the writer of this movie because he is actually a guy I definitely grew up with for his writing credits. So Stephen Brill. He wrote all three Mighty Ducks movies. He wrote Heavyweights.
No way.
Then Ready to Rumble. And then Little Nicky in the same year as Ready to Rumble.
Oh man, this guy has had like the greatest career in the history of film.
Until the year 2000.
Until the year 2000.
Little Nicky and Ready to Rumble are probably those two where he's like, I'm sorry.
Hey, fuck that, man. Popeye's Chicken's the shit.
Yeah, he continued his career into directing. He directed Little Nicky as well.
Did he?
He directed Mr. Deeds, Without a Paddle, Drillbit Taylor, The Do-Over, and Sandy Wexler.
Oh man, that's amazing. One of the so when I was in high school, I went and got my wisdom teeth taken out, and what's funny, that's not funny that I got my wisdom teeth taken out, but what was funny was that my dad had never actually gotten his wisdom teeth taken out ever. So they had scheduled my dad and me at the same time to get our wisdom teeth taken out. And both of us got a ride home from my uncle. We got home and I put in the movie Without a Paddle, and we're both high as hell because of everything that goes into getting your wisdom teeth taken out. And the two of us could have swore that Without a Paddle was the funniest movie we had ever watched in our entire life. And the next day, I stayed home because with everything with your wisdom teeth, and I watched it again, and it was like the weirdest experience to watch that movie sober.
I dig not Ready to Rumble. Without a Paddle. It's not great. It's a guilty pleasure for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
The tone of his movies definitely sticks in line with the Ready to Rumble tone that we have here.
Yes.
Very, very much so.
I look at this table and I'm like, no wonder he wants to be a professional wrestler. He just doesn't want to be that.
He doesn't want to be a cop in a 90s movie.
Yeah, there's enough of those too, huh?
Yeah. 100% makes sense for the story of Ready to Rumble. Is that Ray Ray? That is Ray Ray! Without his mask
Rey Mysterio.
and the juice. Hoovy came to MAP a couple of months ago.
Who did?
Juventud Guerrero.
Nice.
Or Guerrera, not Guerrero.
Yeah.
Billy Kidman, I think, is still working for WWE, too. I see he's in the ring.
Yeah. Is he still married to Tori Wilson?
No.
Okay.
I think that Tori Wilson is, at one point was...
Oh, yeah, she was with Alex Rodriguez, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, was at least linked to A-Rod. So... Oh, who's the other guy in the ring? Is that Buff?
What's he doing slumming it with the cruiserweights?
I don't know. I mean, he was the first WCW match. Excuse me, on WWE. Oh my God, it's Rose McGowan. I totally forgot about this.
That quote right there, Charlie, is the one that I was looking for because that's the one on the soundtrack. Sasha's the best of the best.
Oh, well, and that's true. Okay, we're going to reminisce a little bit because when I was a kid, Booka, everyone had a Nitro girl. Everyone had their favorite Nitro girl.
All right, so Titus Sinclair is this guy's name, right?
I believe so.
The Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo character.
I mean, he's
bro
supposed
enough.
to be running this. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Oh, I hate Vince Russo. God, I'll say that out loud. I don't care if I ever meet him. I hate Vince Russo. Oh man, DDP. Okay, let's talk about the fact that DDP looks exactly the same.
DDP yoga, baby. That's all you got to do.
It's true. Oh, R.I.P. R.I.P.
Random question. Did you guys ever eat Mean Gene's pizza?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was the bomb, right?
Yes, it was. Oh, I love Mike Tenay.
Oh, one of the best ever.
He is one of the greatest. I don't know if you guys got a chance to do my watch along with my commentary yesterday, but I made sure to give a shout out to Mike Tenay because one of the matches I did was a TNA match. And I was like, I don't think I could ever do better than Mike Tenay. I don't want anybody to ever think that I could. But he is one of my favorites.
Jimmy the King.
I like Oliver Platt, but he looks so out of place. Oh, he looks so out of place.
Yeah, could they not have gotten at least a guy that would fit the mold of a WCW wrestler during this time?
What the hell are you talking about? He 100% fits the mold of a WCW wrestler.
Of a year 2000 WCW wrestler, I think you're right.
100%.
I like the fact that David Arquette has to have a sign of his own name.
One of the pyros didn't work. Oh, Conan.
What a weird crew that he has with him. This is just a weird faction.
Mr. Perfect, Perry Saturn, and Conan.
And Conan and Jimmy the King.
It was probably the studio going to WCW going, who is willing to do this? I mean, how much groveling did Arquette have to go to Rose McGowan going, we worked on Scream, come on, do this here for me.
So apparently Rose McGowan hated making this movie.
Well,
I mean, I can't blame her, but...
Okay, I mean, let's be honest here. Like, what's the difference between this and any of the Grindhouse movies?
Those are done by good directors.
Okay. I'll give you that one, but
Yeah.
I mean,
They're about
as far
the
as
same.
its campiness, like, oh, I 100% had that DDP shirt that guy is wearing that just says "Bang."
I look at Joe Pantoliano and I'm just like, this is just weird, him having so much hair.
What's this, like, big wig TNT WCW head booker looking like right now? He looks like every indie promoter in the South.
Yep.
Mr. Perfect, just being Mr. Perfect.
He should have been the lead of this movie, man. I would watch that over and over.
Oh, man. I do.
So this movie goes a little insider on this part where they're calling spots here.
It does.
So, yeah, by this point, it's definitely broken open in the year 2000 that wrestling is predetermined and that these are all characters.
Mm-hmm.
But then later in the same match, we see some of the moves that they pull on each other. I'm like, there's no way you could pull that off without being like superhuman.
Right. Oh,
Or
I mean, beautiful swinging neck breaker. Let's be honest.
We should just let Charlie call the match here.
Nah, I can't take away Mike Tenay's job. He is one of the best. Charles Robinson. That was the best face, Lil Nate.
When I was watching this for the first time, I was like, I saw the referee. I was like, I know he's legit.
Yeah. So
I think pretty much everyone besides Oliver Platt is legit for the talent. Besides and Titus Sinclair, obviously, but
right, pretty close. Yeah. Well, I mean, besides like Arquette and those guys, but one of the like most unknown parts of this is that a lot of the wrestling choreography that you see, maybe not this part of it, but a lot of that wrestling choreography was actually done by Shane Helms.
the Hurricane.
The Hurricane.
I love me some Hurricane.
I do too. I do too. Shane's a really cool dude. I don't know if you like. He came to the MAP a couple of years ago, and he was
like this move here.
Oh, I'm so happy that Tony Schiavone's back with AEW. Why was that table even there?
Seemed awfully convenient.
It was. Crown him!
Crown him, King!
Like, he actually hits him, and then he does a wrestling bump that way.
I don't know. I can't tell here. Is Platt doing some of his own stunts here?
I don't know.
Maybe a couple.
Ring the damn bell, ref.
Yeah. Charles Robinson is a senior referee. He knows better. If this becomes a shoot fight, you get in there.
Yeah. The one man I would be terrified to do anything with, Sid
Oh my
Vicious.
Absolutely. You know what? And that's saying something considering Bam Bam is in the ring and he's probably got about 100 pounds on Sid.
Yeah.
But Sid or Bam Bam was like one of the best workers at the time. Who's the guy with the beanie and the singlet on?
Who is that?
Why can't I think of who?
His name is on a singlet there.
I know, I can't make out who that is.
Uh-oh.
Let's see if he's in the credits here.
Can I say the dramatic acting that we're getting out of David Arquette right now?
Is
He's doing a bang up job.
a 4-post massacre.
Oh, and I like the guy with the definitely the early 2000s. Everybody's got to wear the bright, colorful camouflage.
Who's that on the turnbuckle right there in the purple trunks?
Did we lose Charlie?
We might have lost Charlie for a second. We'll see if we can get him back.
Yeah.
He could not handle the betrayal of Jimmy the King. He had to step out.
He's like, I couldn't handle it.
After the entire WCW roster has screwed Jimmy the King, we're going to try to get Charlie back on this.
Yes,
we can hear you.
Trust you guys. I don't know what I did. I'm sorry.
We just figured you bailed on us after Jimmy the King got taken out by DDP.
Heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Come on. Well, this is the best part.
You're crying, or what happens afterwards?
Them crying.
Have you ever cried over a wrestling match?
I've never cried over like the result of a wrestling match, but I have cried because of wrestling. I will openly admit that.
I don't think I've ever cried because of a match. I mean, I've been pissed off, like slamming the steering wheel like that.
Yeah. I know this... Oh, God. I forgot.
Shit's everywhere.
Because who doesn't go to a wrestling match in a septic truck?
Well, I mean, more people should. No, I've told Lori this. Like, I probably cried the most I've ever cried in my life last weekend at my wedding. But the only other times that I've cried that Lori, my wife, has ever seen me cry is because the first time was when Daniel Bryan announced his retirement. And then most recently when Edge returned at the Rumble, I just started openly weeping during the Rumble. And she was sitting on the couch next to me, and I like stood up. She heard me go, "What?" And I stood up, and my eyes just started like just drenching, just like downpouring. And hopefully I made up for it because I cried at my own wedding too. So, but wrestling.
Was she making fun of you?
She will. Oh, it was so funny. Like, because I was trying to hide it, and she looked at me and she goes, "You're crying," and I was like, "You're crying."
And I love how blatantly rigged.
Oh, look at all that wasted toilet paper.
I know that is
We-
the most valuable prop in Hollywood history in 2020.
And here Arquette is just throwing it away for a gag.
Well, wouldn't you if there was a bunch of shit on the floor or on the ground?
I blame Arquette for our toilet paper shortage in 2020.
Me
All of that
too.
toilet paper.
Me too. Me too.
Oh, and I like the fact that the cops just leave them there to hitchhike home. There's literally how many rescue vehicles and stuff, and they're like, nope, you have fun.
These are the worst
all
cops
the
ever.
all the cops are WWF guys.
You just left from where? Nope, sorry. You gotta
They
get
just
your own
drive
ride.
away going EC Dub, EC Dub.
I mean, it is the year 2000. Who's still watching WCW at this point?
Oh man, okay. So that's what's funny is that their viewership dropped so much in the year 2000, but they were still the #1 program on TNT at the time.
Wow.
What else was on TNT at the time?
I don't know. I guess that's a good
Nothing?
question. That's a good question.
So, since we're on a lull in the action in the movie, should we talk about WCW during this time?
I think so.
Okay, so WCW, year 2000. Charlie, where are we in WCW and the wrestling industry at this time?
We're in a very, very particular place in time. WWE, I don't think, has ever put out better programming than they did between the year 2000. I think between 2000 and then when they got to like the inception of that ruthless aggression era. That was some of my favorite stuff. Maybe not towards the end of that, but this is kind of the height of WWE, but WCW had Ted Turner money, so they would put out things like Ready to Rumble. So at this time, Eric Bischoff, who's very notably the first person to really kind of knock off Vince McMahon from his mantle as far as from a wrestling perspective with the Monday Night Wars, definitely suggest going and watching anything you can on the Monday Night Wars. There's so much interesting stuff. There's a new book out about it as well. But one of my favorite books that came out is called The Death of WCW. So at this time, you'll notice that some of the contracted talent in the movie there's some pretty notable contracted talent from WCW that aren't in the movie. Probably notably like Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. Those guys were not in this movie, but those were the guys who were making like the biggest money in WCW. Oh, Bret Hart was in WCW at the time too.
Was Flair in WCW yet?
Oh yeah, he was there until the end.
Yeah.
Yep. So Ric Flair. I don't know. Did Arn Anderson make a cameo in this movie at any point?
I don't. He might be in that end scene. I don't know.
Yeah. But there's a lot of very, very notable talent that was not in this movie. But, I mean, back to where WCW was. Eric Bischoff had kind of knocked off Vince McMahon from the top of the wrestling mantle. And WCW Nitro had won a ratings war that they had with them for, it was like 80-some weeks or something like that. Like almost 2 years. But then WCW started booking things like the Finger Poke of Doom, and then later, after this movie came out, David Arquette became their world champion. So their booking went from like this really cutthroat. I don't know how else to say. Like it seemed like everybody was in a real fight, and it felt like gang war on WCW. To suddenly, it's like, oh, Hogan and Nash are like the only people that are in charge. And I think it's really notable to say that Goldberg is in this movie, but Goldberg had only really been wrestling for like maybe 3 years at this time. And he was already a star, but he was really the only big star that WCW ever made, because DDP had been there for years and had wrestled in different places for years. Sting was a guy who was kind of at the end of the NWA run and then kind of transitioned into WCW, but they were in a very weird time with their booking, and then Vince Russo came in, and Vince Russo was actually the writer for WWE. Oh, the Shermanator.
Yes, the Shermanator.
Vince Russo was actually a writer for WWE. He was the head writer for WWE for years, and then he took a job with WCW. And then, but he didn't have anybody who was filtering his crazy ideas, and basically any storyline he decided was going to go with, and kind of ruined the entire overall product of WCW, unfortunately, because they had some really, really, really talented guys who later went on to have some really awesome, amazing spots with WWE. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with WCW now. I think I went on a tangent trying to watch the movie at the same time.
You know,
No, it's. Go ahead, Brian.
I look at the Shermanator, and it's like the late '90s, early 2000s were like his game. It's like, hopefully he saved all that money up, though, because this and American Pie, Can't Hardly Wait.
He was also in Major Pain.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah. Before he did any of that, he was in Major Pain.
Where can I get the Jimmy the King action figure?
Oh, that would be amazing. That
has to be a collector's item right now.
Any of those big, like when they tried to re-release those ones that were actually flexible but looked like the LJN figures, those ones are pretty rare. I don't think that they're actually worth anything, though.
I love this bit. I'm sorry. Watching Scott Conn trying to do Britney Spears. And it's almost like they're like, the music studio's like, you can have it, but you can't like play it. You got to just kind of wing it.
They had WB money. They probably could have gotten the rights to that.
They probably.
I don't know. That was a big song in 2000.
Oh God! What the fuck? Oh, it was a weird time. Oh God! Can you guys still hear me? My phone's being weird. I want to make sure you guys can still hear me. Okay.
Yep. I'm trying to remember what I remember her from. I had to look it up.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, my friend. Yeah. Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh my God, that's right.
She was the funny aunt. Yep.
Yes. She's a whore. Yeah. This is just like over the top redneck right now.
It is.
And massive deal.
Why was that
funny? Because of the way she said it.
David Arquette is such a great comedic actor. I completely forgot about that. Like him playing this whole thing so straight is so great. Prince Jimmy.
Oh.
Why does their dad have a bounty on him?
Why not?
I feel like I'm watching Tiger King again.
This is the prequel, Jimmy the King.
Jimmy the King. Take out the tigers, add in wrestling. Oh, remember 1-800-CALL-ATT?
Oh my gosh.
How
many kids nowadays would be watching this movie going, what is that thing on the... Why didn't they just grab their cell phone?
Exactly.
Have you ever used a payphone, Casey?
Never.
That's amazing. But do you remember, Casey? I mean, and maybe Brian, you'll remember this too. But during that late '90s, early 2000s, WWE, WCW, like each one of them was sponsored by some kind of calling company, and there would always be a blimp for them.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen any blatant product placement in this movie outside of that.
There was a Dunkin' Donuts in their septic tank.
Oh, was
truck.
there? Okay.
And there was a few Macho Man Slim Jims in the gas station as well.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Oh, I really wanted. They only made I think it was 1,000 of them, but they made a Macho Man Slim Jim action figure. I think it was within the last year, but it actually came in what looked like an old Slim Jim box.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That is a wrestling collector's item. I had a.
You need that in your life.
I do. Well, I have one action figure box that I thought might be worth something, and so I asked a toy guy at a convention. I don't even remember when, but so I've got the WCW 4 Horsemen action figures still in a box, but it's version 3.0 of the 4 Horsemen with Malenko, Mongo, Flair, and Benoit. And I asked him if that is worth anything, and he's like, "Absolutely not. You might as well take those out and play with them." I was like, "Well, I'm in my 30s, so maybe one day. I don't know."
You don't play with wrestling figures yet?
Not anymore. I had so many of them.
Yeah, I did too. So growing up, wrestling figures were my toys, period. I had, in total, I had probably 6 wrestling rings.
Did you really?
I had 3 regular WWE ones, an Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell, and the 6-sided TNA ring.
Oh wow! Okay.
I bet I had close to 300 to 500 wrestlers.
Wow.
Yeah,
Where are
I
they
had a
still?
lot. They got sold when I turned 13, 14 years old. My brother has probably 10 of them that he kept. So I have a few and one of the rings yet. But yeah, I sold them all off when I stopped watching wrestling.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Charlie is sad for you right now.
Well, no, I can't say because I gave one of my cousins a ton of my wrestling action figures. I kept all the DVDs that I owned, but I gave him a ton of my wrestling action figures, and now he's in his 20s, and I've asked him where they're at because I would love to have a shelf in my nerd cave with all my wrestling action figures, but he no longer knows where they're at, and I've tried to ask his mom and dad, and they don't know where they're at either. So
yeah, I bet for about 4 years, every holiday, birthday, whatever was a wrestling figure or a wrestling ring.
Oh yeah,
just for everything. Yeah.
I had a friend of mine give me the old WWF ring when I was a kid too, and I don't know where that wound up, but we had the WWF ring with the blue cage.
Oh yeah,
and that was definitely. I would recommend.
That's how I got into wrestling. Was 03, so I was probably 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
And we were walking in a Walmart, and I pointed out a Goldberg action figure. And I asked my dad what it was, and he's like, "Well, that's Goldberg. He's a wrestler. You want to watch it sometime?" Yeah, let's watch it. And so we tuned into, I would assume it was Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what episode it was, but it was Goldberg he was in a cage match against Evolution was all I remember, and they beat the snot out of him at the end. Yeah, and he was busted open at the end, and I was hooked. That was my hook.
Wow.
Was seeing a bloodied Goldberg getting the shit kicked out of him by Evolution.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a fun run too. Back in like I think I don't know if you have the network or not, but the documentary series that they're doing right now of the ruthless aggression era, they actually talked about Evolution's kind of rise in there and them trying to bring in Goldberg and everything like that with it, and it was really really good. I think I forgot how good that era of wrestling actually was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't watched it. I still have that free month that WWE is running on the network. I don't pay for it right now.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I'm going to go back and watch some of those ruthless aggression things because that's the era I grew up with.
Yeah, that's a good documentary series that they're putting out. I would definitely recommend the Monday Night Wars series because it's really well done. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love WWE and I love professional wrestling, but WWE does a great job of jerking themselves off. So, I mean, they really loved it. Just we knew we were gonna win, but we just had to go through a couple of hard times. But we knew. Like, no,
I knew it all along.
No, like you were battling like one of the few billionaires in the world at the time. Come on, you had no idea. Don't be that guy.
Vince is that guy.
Oh, I mean, within wrestling, like WC or WWE, I mean, they're the kings of jerking themselves off because they control the whole thing. But now that we have AEW, TNA is doing really well again, or Impact Wrestling rather is what they're called now. But and Ring of Honor has been around for 17 years at this point. Like now they're starting to see some actual competition, which is great to see again because that's when I grew up watching wrestling, was flipping from channel to channel between WCW and WWE.
Yeah, that's one thing I always wish I had growing up because my cousins were about 4 or 5 years older than me,
Mm-hmm.
and so they grew up with the Attitude Era, and so they would say every Monday night one TV would have WCW on, and they'd bring another TV into the room and have WWF Raw on. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, me and my dad would always pick which show we were going to watch on Monday nights up in the living room. But we had a TV down because we had a second living room downstairs in the basement that was for me, my brothers, and my sister. And I would always set that one to record with a VHS tape, and I'd watch it later. So my dad and I would watch either Raw or Nitro, whatever one we decided was going to be better that week. And then I would later watch the other one.
Now VHS tape, Casey. No.
I know what VHS tapes are. I had for sure probably a half a dozen old WCW VHS pay-per-views.
What is David Arquette doing?
Trying to get your attention. That's what he's trying to do, Charlie.
He's drawing us back into the movie, Charlie, with this half-assed figure four.
I was wondering if you guys forgot there was a movie running.
Nope.
Gonna crown him here.
He's standing on top of his couch.
Something every wrestling fan has done in their life.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if you had a trampoline with like the nets, you were the king of your backyard fed.
I recorded so many fake wrestling matches with my cousins on my trampoline.
Yep.
The funny thing with us was we had our trampoline was sitting on our sandbox.
Oh yeah.
And so we would take sand and we'd like shuffle the sand out of it, so it was just like little rocks.
Oh God.
And that was our thumbtacks.
Oh, that's the
and so
worst.
We'd take our shirts off and like choke slam each other onto the rocks.
Oh, you were a hardcore guy.
Oh, we were going hardcore, man.
This is why you requested that I commentate over One Night Stand.
Yeah. So growing up, my parents never paid for pay-per-views, even though I watched Raw every week.
Right.
That was the one they allowed me to get, was One Night Stand.
Are you shitting me right now?
I am serious. Because I begged for it.
My dad never let me get any of the pay-per-views, and we had just like a little local cable provider. But I remember my dad, I think it was like November, he goes, "Hey, I think we got your Christmas present." And I was like, "Oh, what was it?" And he goes, "I'm going to get you Starcast." And this was the Sting versus Hogan Starcast. Oh, you there, guys?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry. Yeah, so this is the Sting versus Hogan, and the day before the pay-per-view aired, I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited to watch it, so excited to watch it." And then my dad comes in and he goes, "I'm so sorry that our cable provider cannot get this pay-per-view." Oh my god. What is this? You know what? You're not wrong about the soundtrack, Brian.
The soundtrack does rule.
I told you.
Oh, the two.
Maybe this is why Rose McGowan had a problem with the film.
This is probably the reason why.
Yep.
That she had to have a scene where David Arquette's just staring at her chest the entire time.
Well, David Arquette.
It is a little weird that they played brother and sister just a few years earlier too.
Wait,
Yep.
what did they play?
Scream.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
You're supposed to be my brother.
This is where we should have got the Rufus cameo with that big guy right there.
Yep. That should be Rufus.
I can't. Okay, so we
I
get
love
Joe
the
Pantaleone here.
I love the security of this WCW era because of how these guys just got in without a problem.
They snuck
I
in,
don't
man. They had the
understand
porta potties.
I don't understand why Bischoff is not in this role right here.
This might have been that in-between period. This was that in-between period when Bischoff went, like, he was still getting paid by WCW, but wasn't actually writing for them.
So who, this would have been
This would have
Russo?
been Russo, yeah.
Why would he not just put himself in this movie?
Bro.
Bro. Not a
Bro.
movie star, bro.
I am a movie star, bro. I hate Vince Russo.
I mean, he's what he is.
I'm gonna call him out. There's a guy that actually promoted a show with Vince Russo a couple of years ago, and it was like his first show, and this was in the Midwest, and he promoted it hard for like 3 months. Like, we're gonna have Vince Russo, and then nobody showed up to the show. And then he was like real confused as to why nobody showed up to the show. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me, right? Like, you booked Vince Russo as your big star. Like, you've got to be kidding me." But sure did.
Oh.
I know we referenced the DDP yoga earlier and whatnot, and it's that yoga is what makes me really hard to picture DDP as a bad guy. Because he's such a nice guy.
DDP's he's a good bad guy, though. for the most part.
Who is that guy that's with Bam Bam? Why can't I think of who it is? And
oh,
Oliver Platt, you'll have just this one move. Don't worry.
yeah, because that's how all matches are started.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, in the era of the 24/7 title,
I do like Disco Inferno gets his spot here.
He probably still has that outfit. He probably brought that from home. I love Disco. I freaking love Disco.
Great.
Uh-oh.
God, his hair looks so fake.
Why is Disco the only wrestler in this scene?
background next to Disco going back and forth. Just darting, just whoop, 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 whoop.
Trying to make sure he stays in scene.
That's what Disco's doing right now. I need my 10 minutes, baby.
This is exactly how wrestling works. You beat the shit out of your champion, even though you're fired,
Hmm.
and you get your title match.
Yeah, just ask Matt Hardy.
That's how it works.
That's what
That
happened.
was the greatest. That was the greatest storyline as a kid. The Matt Hardy Edge feud.
It was. It was. I still love Matt Hardy to this day,
Oh, I
though.
do too.
Broken Matt Hardy on the indie scene when it was first starting is like I could have watched that for the next 10 years, I think. And it looks like we
Yeah,
might be
growing
able
up-
to.
Growing up, he was He was always my favorite of the Hardys, and I always got so much shit for it because everybody loves Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, well, and he was always great. That's the other thing. Like, it was hard to not like Matt Hardy, but Jeff Hardy
Yeah.
was so different than everyone else.
He definitely had a different image.
Yeah.
I do like Arquette's shirt here in this scene.
What, you just like his butt?
I love Arquette's butt.
Yeah. So does Rose McGowan, because she loves this movie.
Hey, not everybody has a stellar resume when it comes to the movies they've made.
Well,
Just ask David Arquette.
the
What, you don't
resume.
like Eight-Legged Freaks?
Eight-Legged Freaks is fun.
Resume doesn't need to be there when you got friends money, bitch.
Not anymore.
Oh, he's got plenty of friends money.
Look at Disco go.
Arquette. Oh my god. Alright, I'm sorry, Mean Gene.
And Arquette.
Oh. I want to
Oh,
figure
I
out
love
how I can
Mean
get Tyson
Gene.
on this call. You guys, okay, so there's this really amazing story that Tyson has about Mean Gene. So I'm just gonna tell it on there. Here, let me message him, see if he's okay with me telling it. Just a second.
All right.
Here, just a
In
second.
the meantime, I love the fact that
You guys
we
can
have
still hear
Mean
me,
Gene
right?
going, do people think I'm sexy?
Oh,
Great line from Mean Gene.
I will never look at Mean Gene ever the same.
oh god.
Okay, so was that a New York City cab? Were they running a WCW in New York City?
That wouldn't make sense.
No, it would not.
You'd think the wrestling fans would scream about that.
I mean, there's plenty to scream about and Ready to Rumble, but
Yeah, because it's so good.
it's so great.
All right, so I'm going to tell this. Mean Gene, there used to be a Mean Gene's Burgers here in Sioux Falls that my friend Tyson used to work at. And WCW was running in town, and apparently his mom worked at a bar or a hotel or something. I don't know. And all the wrestlers were at that bar that night after WCW ran here in Sioux Falls, and Tyson wasn't able to. He didn't know what was going on, or that was going on. But his mom came home. She's like, "Oh, all the wrestlers came out last night. I got to meet all of them. One of them grabbed my ass." And Tyson's like, "What?" And he was real mad. He wanted to know which one it was. She goes, "Yeah, it was just this little short, bald dude with a mustache." And he goes, "Mom, is it the guy that I work for?" Because he worked for Mean Gene's Burgers at the time. And he goes, and his mom goes, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, he grabbed my ass last night." So, R.I.P. Mean Gene, you pervert. That's a great way to remember him.
I did get a kick out of this. We're like, how did you know where to find him? Oh, we're in the business.
Oh my god. I heard somebody scream out through the microphone.
Ah!
Little known fact, this is actually what most wrestling schools look like.
Do you know who this is based off of?
Oh, I'm trying to.
You can probably take a guess
What's-
who this character is based on.
Look. I don't even remember this part.
This is the Martin Landau trainer.
Oh, he was so fantastic.
AKA this movie's Stu Hart.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that's fucking Stu Hart so much. I didn't even think about that. Yep, that's something Stu would have done to everyone.
Yep.
Don't know about wrestling.
Yeah, I'm Stu Hart.
This is totally Stu Hart.
Oh, that's 100% Stu. Oh, yes, it is. Nobody would have even said, oh. So just so everyone knows who's listening, Stu Hart was notorious for having a wrestling ring and training everyone in his basement, and he would just beat the shit out of anyone who came in before they could do anything. The term that they like to call that is stretching. It's not very common to see people stretching a trainee anymore, unless you're in Japan. They still kind of beat you up and treat you like crap for like the first year. But Stu Hart, just like my favorite video is that Stu was on some of the vignettes that of Brett training before the matchup with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, the Iron Man match. And the videos showed like Shawn Michaels like running stairs and like doing the whole Rocky thing, but then then they would cut to Stu Hart just beating the crap out of Bret Hart. Like, go back and watch some of those vignettes, and like Stu,
I think I remember that.
Yeah, Stu would just have like Bret locked in the face with his legs. I don't think Stu Hart was that happy though. Yeah.
Don't mess with the old man.
Oh, boo.
This interaction is so awkward.
This interaction... Okay, Brian, I know you have never seen this movie. Charlie, have you ever seen the movie Freddy Got Fingered?
Oh, I don't remember any of it, but yes, I have seen it.
This is how this interaction... this is what this interaction reminds me of, is the quote-unquote love story in Freddy Got Fingered. It's that bad.
It's so gross.
Ugh.
Who brings bananas to a date?
Who doesn't?
Well, if you would have been paying attention, he said the flower shop was closed.
So bananas are the next logical step?
Yeah.
When you're David Arquette.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm married now, so there's just bananas in the house. That's just, I mean...
It is what you do.
Yeah.
And you can eat them.
Yeah.
You can't eat... Well, you can eat flowers, but you shouldn't.
He's old school.
What shirt is he wearing? Oh my.
I was going to comment on that. I want that shirt. Like,
again, welcome to the early 2000s.
He is rocking it though.
Yep.
If this would have been made a couple years later, he would have been wearing one of those button-down shirts with like the flames on it.
Yep. Yeah, the Guy Ferrari shirt or Fieri.
Yeah, he still wears them.
Yeah.
because he can get away with it.
It's part of his motif.
Bedroom match.
Who is this narcissistic chick who's got
Yeah.
pictures of anime of herself all the way around it?
Somebody who wants to be the head natural girl. Foreign objects.
Oh, I'm gonna yell that next time I see boobs. That is now part of my lines.
You're officially gonna get hit, as opposed to being the one hitting.
Well, I mean, you gotta hit first, Brian. You gotta yell foreign objects, then throw a fist. Duh.
Duh. Arquette's game of foreplay. That's how he got Courtney Cox.
Yeah. Foreign objects! Why is the fridge leaking?
All right, here comes the infamous John Cena scene in this movie.
Where is he?
I'll point him out when he pops up here.
There's Goldberg.
There's Bill.
That dude can still lift like that, too. He looks the same age, except his beard is gray.
Yep.
He stayed in great shape over the years. This was 20 years ago.
Yeah, you would
He
think
does.
that.
He looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Actor Bill Goldberg from Santa's Sleigh.
I would love to do a watch along with that movie someday because I love that movie.
Just the Chris Kattan classic.
The last scene, the last line in that movie, just being, "Daddy, where'd you get
John
a bazooka?"
Cena right behind Oliver Platt.
That's not Cena.
God.
That's the prototype.
The prototype. First screen appearance of John Cena, future star of The Marine.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the firefighter movie he just released?
Playing with Fire.
Yeah.
Yes. Playing with Fire. Why are they in a boxing gym? Those are the worst boxers ever, too. Look, that dude can't even throw an uppercut. Why didn't Goldberg get an Oscar nom for this movie?
Why is he never brought up in actors or wrestlers turned actors?
Because he's never like the forefront, like Cena and The Rock.
Tell that to Santa's Sleigh.
Oh, on a complete side note, I did see that there's going to be a new show on Netflix starring The Big Show.
Oh, I saw that. Isn't it a sitcom too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
I love Show, man, but sometimes he's just like, yeah, how much are you paying me? Whatever. Fuck it.
I still see him on like cereal boxes now. I'm like, when is the last time Show has been in WWE?
I don't know. I mean,
it's been a while.
They really wanted. These are the last two guys you want breaking into your house, by the way.
Not if you're the guy.
Can I make an ill-timed Perry? Can I make an ill-timed Perry Saturn joke that he's probably done this?
Oh God. I think it was right when I was first getting sober. My buddy was living in Albert Lee, Minnesota. What the fuck? But my buddy Andy was running this cell phone store in Albert Lee, and he calls me and he goes, "Hey, do you know who Perry Saturn is?" And I was like, "Yes, I know who Perry Saturn is." That's all I said. And he goes, "What can you tell me about him?" And I was like, that he hasn't wrestled in years. He goes, "Oh, he's been coming into our store. He's not in good shape." I was like, "Oh, that sucks so bad."
I know that joke was nothing against Perry Saturn. I like the guy, and I feel bad
Yeah,
for him.
I know he's had some rough times, but Sid Vicious, I mean, that dude is pulled out of every booking he's ever taken over the last 5 years. Uh?
Oliver Platt does an amazing job of just looking like he's always hungover.
You're right.
Can I have a bug?
Oh, you know what
I
I
have a Butterfinger too.
the other day? This wasn't the other day. The first time I watched the movie Chef, I I think I made a King reference during that movie.
Are we talking the oh
John Favreau movie.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Have you seen it, Brian?
I have not, but I've wanted to see it and the TV show that he spun off on Netflix for it.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen it, Casey?
I have not. I've never seen it either.
Oh, actually, okay. So Oliver Plath actually plays like the food reviewer in that movie that sends John Favreau's character on a tailspin.
Nice.
Seems like a fitting role for
Yeah.
Oliver Platt.
It's a really good movie. I'd recommend that one actually. And then the guy who was like the head chef for the show to like basically he would choreograph all the cooking scenes in the
Yep.
movie just to make sure like cooking looked like it was actually cooking in that movie since it was a movie about a chef. That guy and John Favreau are doing that reality show, the chef show, where they go around the world trying different food and different recipes. So it's like a Travel Channel's version of a Food Network cooking show, but it's really good. I would recommend both actually because I really love both of those.
I know I've wanted to see them. They both look really, really good. And the chef is like an award-winning chef that he's paired up with.
Yeah, yep. But if you watch that movie and you don't Butterfinger. If you watch that movie, there's our product placement right there.
Butterfinger.
We got to say Butterfinger like 3 times. But if you watch the movie Chef and you don't want to make a grilled cheese sandwich at the end of it, like I don't think you're human. For real. He makes a grilled cheese sandwich in that movie and it makes you want a grilled cheese sandwich.
I want a grilled cheese sandwich now.
Well, I mean, that's a different issue, Brian. I'm telling you, this guy made a fancy grilled cheese.
Rumble.
Well, that's why we want a grilled cheese sandwich.
I do want David Arquette's shirt from this movie, though. The Jimmy the King shirt.
Butterfinger!
Butterfinger, baby.
Oh my god. Oh shit.
Platt is a ton of fun in this movie, though.
He is.
He's like, not all my movies can be flatliners.
Oh, Kid Rock, huh? This appeared in every bad 90s movie ever and early 2000s.
Rock was where it was at.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
I guess it wouldn't be a wrestling movie without Kid Rock. He is a WWE Hall of Famer. Show some damn respect.
He is, for, 2 appearances?
Mm-hmm. He is. Yep.
Yeah, I don't like Kid Rock.
I don't like Kid Rock either. But I'll say this, that when I was doing my basement work, my dad loves butt rock, and he was helping, so we had a radio playing with butt rock the whole time. So it was like Def Leppard after, Motley Crue. And then they played the song Cowboy by Kid Rock, and I still know all the words.
It's one of those songs that's really hard not to.
let's not forget who was also in the WWE Hall of Fame, our current president of the United States,
Yeah,
Donald Trump.
people were wanting to revoke his Hall of Fame status after his first year as a president, and I was like, you guys, if they
There's
didn't
bigger
revoke,
things to worry about.
yeah, we've got bigger things to worry about, and then in addition to that, it's like if Hulk Hogan can do what he did, and we're not going to revoke his Hall of Fame status.
That could be a whole different conversation.
That could be. It could be. I got into an argument with somebody. I've mentioned it on this show before. I think the first time that there are so many people who still argue to this day that Chris Benoit should get inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I think is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, I agree. Did you watch that Wrestling with not Wrestling with Shadows, Dark Side of the Ring documentary?
I haven't. The first season's available but I want to watch. There are a few episodes in there that I'm real interested in. The Bruiser Brody episode, the Chris Benoit, obviously. I mean, that one I just keep hearing that it's just crazy, so I think I've got to watch it. But they also did an episode on New Jack, and if you're not familiar with New Jack, just Google New Jack rap sheet, and it will be you'll be 10 times more scared of professional wrestling than you ever were.
Yeah, I watched that Benoit 2-parter. It's a good one.
Did you?
And then I went back and watched that first season too. Most of them. I didn't watch the New Jack one.
What is that on?
Vice.
Vice's YouTube page, yeah.
Yep. Is the first season available on YouTube?
Okay, so it's available for purchase. You can find bootleg versions on YouTube too.
Okay.
So that's how I watched them.
Well, the first season because I think Brian and I are probably the only two people in the world who use Google Play as our on-demand resource. But I did see that. I did see that Google Play had it on sale for like $10 the first season, but they didn't have the second season yet. So I
think the second season is just the Benoit 2-parter so far.
They have a New Jack episode that's coming up soon as well. I'm trying to. There's a few other episodes.
The last one I watched was the Montreal Screwjob one.
Okay. And
it was basically 40 minutes of Vince Russo and Jim Cornette bitching about who came up with the idea.
Oh, my two favorite personalities in professional wrestling bitching about an overplayed subject. Great.
Yeah. It was great. And then Scott Hall's conspiracy that everybody's in on it.
I 100% agree with Scott Hall on this. Okay. And I'm going on record that I 100% agree with Scott Hall on this, actually. I didn't realize that Scott Hall was one of the people who actually bit on that theory, but with how much it's been played, with how often, I don't know, especially with how much money, because the contract negotiations, it's pretty open out there that Vince McMahon assisted Bret Hart with the contract negotiations with WCW as well. So I don't know, it just seems like it's pretty convenient in my eyes. So
there's a lot of loose ends that kind of tie up nicely when you put it all together.
Yeah. I mean, the only people that were supposedly in the room were Vince McMahon, Bret Hart, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. Come on, and at the time, you're gonna try and tell me that Owen Hart didn't know or wouldn't have known what the match was gonna look like, or Bulldog, or anybody, that. If you're going to tell anybody what your finish looks like or what your match is going to look like, especially with guys who, you discuss your match with everyone else who's on the card so that you can put on different matchups. Come on, guys. I don't know. It's just a theory, and maybe it's a conspiracy theory. I probably look like the guy from, Ancient Aliens right now. Just, it's aliens. So
Less hair.
yeah, well, yeah, it's just my beard going everywhere.
Yeah, I like to believe that it wasn't, but I think there is a lot of proof for that it was. Everybody's in on it, type of thing.
Hmm. Well, and if anybody knows, I mean, there's like one guy there. If Kevin Nash comes out and says this whole thing was fixed, then we'll all believe that it's fixed. But Scott Hall is the only guy kind of preaching it. It sounds like right now.
Well, that makes me wonder. I'm like, Sean has never talked to Scott Hall about this.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels were not in the best mindset at the time, so
That is true.
mhm. Good bump.
I love how many people he has to go through to try to find his posse. Oh, Siamese twins. They didn't even look like real twins.
Oh man, I didn't realize Double J was in this movie. Somebody put. Go ahead.
This is WWF 1992 tryouts right here.
You're not wrong. Somebody put Jeff Jarrett's actual song over Joe Exotic's music video today, and I will find that clip and send it over to all of you guys because it's probably my favorite thing on the internet.
Funny.
Joe Exotic could have been a professional wrestler.
What's that?
I said Joe Exotic could have been a professional wrestler.
He was.
No way.
You didn't. You're kidding me. You haven't read this yet.
Not yet. No.
He used to run old and like when the NWA was done for a while there. The NWA used to run shows at his facility in the 90s.
What?
Yes, and he used to do the commentary for it, but we can't find any clips of it.
Oh my.
No, this is a real thing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
Yeah, no. Tiger King has everything. It has pro wrestling. It has newborn babies. It has one-armed lesbians. It has gay troops. It's awesome.
It's got everything.
It literally has everything.
You finished watching it, right?
I did.
Okay, so there's the part with the building that burned down and there was alligators inside.
Yes.
Do you know whose alligators those were?
Those weren't Joe Exotic's alligators?
They were Michael Jackson's alligators.
What the fuck? What?
Someone pieced together that Michael Jackson had alligators at a farm in Oklahoma of the same name as Joe Exotic's farm, and that they had burned in a fire alongside a television studio.
Oh my god. That story just gets crazy.
The legacy of Joe Exotic, I don't know what else would.
Oh my god.
I know what I need to start watching.
Brian, you need to watch Tiger King.
Oh, you need to watch this, dude. It's just so one of the guys that I work with down in Omaha was very like, I'm not going to watch this. I'm very anti-animal abuse. I'm very anti, everything that's going on there. So I will not give this the time of day. And I was like, no, like you need to give it the time of day because you hate all those things. You like 100% need to watch that, get pissed off, but then realize these are real people and nobody wrote this shit.
Yeah, everything that happens in it is like, man, this is a well-written movie script, but it's all real.
Jimmy the King's t-shirt looks like Joe Exotic's. Also, we have not pointed out the fact that that I forget his name now. Not David Arquette's character, the other character.
Scott Conn.
Yeah. He just got laid because he gave a girl a Hard Rock Cafe T-shirt. So
2000s, baby.
Yep.
Speaking of the 2000s, you know how we said with Varsity Blues right into this, next year, right? 2 butt shots of Scott Conn too. He must have a thing for wanting to show off his ass.
I mean, yeah, I get it.
We're in a PG-13 movie from the late 90s, early 2000s. There has to be a male ass shot.
Yeah.
Right.
Because dude butt's funny. The Royal Bash. Did they announce what kind of cage this is at the beginning? Like, nobody really...
No.
It was a triple cage.
Yeah, I looked it up for this when they actually ran the match in WCW.
Yeah.
It's just called the Ready to Rumble match.
Oh my god. Excuse me. Sting. That's how Sting just hangs out. He just...
Dude, for this scene, all you gotta do is just sit there and look pissed off.
Man, this sequel to The Crow sucks.
It's better than all the other actual Crow sequels.
You beat me to it, Casey.
There's our F-bomb.
I'm surprised it took him this long to get it done.
Is that the only F-bomb in this movie? Since it's PG-13?
Yep.
Did they actually abide by that rule in the early 2000s?
Oh yeah. That rule hasn't changed.
Yeah, what's his name? The guy who did all the X-Men movies, and then he did Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, Bryan Singer.
Yeah, Bryan Singer. That's like one of his signatures, is to put one F-bomb in each of his movies.
Well, when you've got Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, you kind of have to figure out how you're going to swing that in.
He put it in with Bohemian Rhapsody, too.
Yeah.
It just has the one F-bomb in it, yep.
That movie should have been a hard R.
I think so, too.
That movie
I still
should have
have to
been
such a
something
Baron
totally
Cohen
different.
version.
Yeah. $1 million!
Man, he should have had Dr. Evil say that line.
Should have had Ted DiBiase say that line.
It's true. Oh my god, why has nobody ever gone to a wrestling convention dressed as this guy? Like, not one person. I'm so upset with wrestling fans right now.
I'm going to go as Jimmy the King to SuperCon this year.
Oh, okay, I'll come dressed as a cop.
I was like, you just gotta shave off the beard and get the hair there, Charlie.
Yeah. Well, I can do one. The other one, the other one is a slap in the face from God. So, that's if you believe in her.
Michael Buffer.
Yeah, that's my hero right there. I had a Twitter interaction with Michael Buffer.
I want to know how much money they had to pay him, and for the fact that he owns the rights to that phrase.
I know. I actually, on Twitter, I saw that because he did that commercial for Hy-Vee a couple of months ago, maybe about a year ago. And so I called him out on Twitter, and I was like, hey, there's another guy in the Midwest who does ring announcing who could really use a job, Buffer. And I said something along the lines of, like, haven't you made enough money? And he actually replied and said, he's like, not quite yet. A couple more years, and then we'll be good. I should dig that up, because it was really funny. It is the greatest ring announcer of all time.
Yeah.
Wrestling or otherwise. He is the greatest hype. I think I'll say Michael Buffer is the greatest sports hype man of all time.
I do dig this WCW set for the, what is it, Royal Bash?
I love how small it looks because they're at the fucking MGM Grand. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
One of
It
the most
looks like
popular.
they're in somebody's basement.
It does. It's one of the most popular arenas in the history of sports in the world, and it looks like it's at like some local theater.
They're like, it's at the MGM, but we couldn't afford the MGM, so we're gonna fake it.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they did say the MGM. They didn't necessarily say which part of the MGM, so maybe this is just the back closet.
I mean, it looks like it's an underground Vegas casino.
This is where they shot Lucha Underground.
And how have we
Yes.
not made reference to the fact that Scott Conn looks like part of the uprising of the big swing of the early 2000s as well? He looks like he should be singing Zoot Suit Riot.
He looks like the saxophone player in a ska band.
Comes the best line of the movie.
I laughed so hard the first time I heard that.
Wait, who's the other guy? They never
Who is
say
the
who
other
the
guy?
other guy is. Oh. It looks like they lost all the trademark rights to Starman.
God, she is so hilarious.
Oh, there we go, Terry Funk. Who's that guy?
It is gonna bug you until you figure it out.
Yeah. Oh.
All right.
Son. That is the worst clothesline ever, son. Get out of a wrestling ring. Up and quit the business, brother.
Charlie, is it Van Hammer?
Oh, God. Is it Van Hammer? I'll have to
I
look.
think it is.
It might be.
I think it is. He's the only wrestler I
might-
see credited in this movie that I do not recognize.
It might be Van Hammer.
I think it is.
Now this is how you make an entrance.
How has Triple H not tried to replicate this entrance at at WrestleMania?
Well,
Right?
oh, more Kid Rock. Spear!
Yeah.
Mule kick! There's Disco getting his ass kicked.
Jackhammer.
What? I gotta get
My
down there.
son is-
Is that Ricochet?
Spear.
I like how Dad went from absolutely hating this idea to all of a sudden he's cheering his son on.
Mm-hmm.
That's my boy.
I do love the concept of this match, though. I don't know why.
Oh, this is... it's such a terrible concept, though, Casey. Like,
It is. But WCW has had a lot of terrible concepts for matches.
I mean, Judy Bagwell on a pole match.
Yeah.
It's notable that one of the few DVDs I have left, or not DVDs, I'm sorry, recorded VHS tapes.
Sasha.
One of the few recorded VHS tapes that I still have from when I used to record is the debut of Judy Bagwell.
It's a collector's item now, Charlie.
It is. It is.
I can't. Okay, so 2 weeks after this movie
soon.
premiered, flashbacks to Big Boss Man versus Undertaker.
Yep.
So when this, like, right after this movie premiered, is when Arquette won the title. Was that on a Nitro episode?
I believe it was.
Okay.
I believe that it was. Yep. They actually did this spot in WCW, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. This is making me cringe.
Yeah. They just need a swerve here, bro, and let Sting grab the title.
That...
We're men.
I love that Sting, like, that was probably like a big selling point of like,
Yeah.
oh, Sting's in this movie, and then he has one line. I mean, let's be honest, one hell of a finish here, brother.
Yeah.
Right?
Goldberg's just watching.
So, with how many times did WCW actually do this match? Was it just the one time?
I think it was just the once, yeah. Yep.
They had to pay for that ring.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get some use out of
WWE
it.
brought back War Games. Why not bring back the Ready to Rumble match?
I think they're horrified after the Kennel from Hell match. Any wrestling fan who remembers the Kennel from Hell match, that was a 5-star shit bomb.
It's best we forget it, Charlie.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
This is a massive bump from DDP.
They killed him. He died.
Yeah, there's no surviving that.
Yeah.
Yep. He did. Not me.
Okay. Okay, so I saw this while looking up some stuff on this movie. I saw that there is an alternate ending to this after this match
What?
that DDP pitched to the studio.
What was the alternate ending?
So
he
the
went?
alternate ending is Arquette, Khan, and Oliver Platt are all in this bar celebrating the big win, and DDP walks into the bar. And Arquette and Khan are all ready to fight him, and DDP comes up and gives Platt a big hug, and turns to the two guys, and he's like, "Welcome to the business, kid. This is how it works."
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a better ending than what we get, but
Oh, look. Hey, hold on. ICP t-shirt.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I'm in wrestling.
This is for my juggalos and juggalettes. Whoop, whoop.
Hmm.
Fuck this shit. Yeah, they did.
Everything true about that statement.
And they're just gonna eat him.
Just gonna beat the shit out of him.
Yep.
The last time I saw a movie like this with Natural Born Killers, it didn't end well. Tommy Lee Jones had head on a stake.
What's that?
Huh?
What'd you say, Brian?
Oh, I was saying, in Natural Born Killers, it ended up with Tommy Lee Jones' head on a stick.
It did. It did.
You're probably the only person that's ever compared Ready to Rumble to Natural Born Killers.
There's got to be one more.
Oliver Platt, maybe?
Yeah.
How has Arquette never used this sheriff gimmick in his career now?
But he did come out, okay, when he was wrestling over the last couple of years, he would come out to the song The Candyman and toss candy to the crowd. Yep.
She's a little ecstatic.
Oliver Platt is actually a really big dude. I'm just realizing that.
Yeah.
Like, because Arquette, he's an average-sized guy.
Sting looks so pissed off in that shot.
Yeah, because, you go to the store in your tights.
If you're Bill Goldberg, damn right you do.
You do Bill Goldberg 20 years ago when he's like, I got to show this shit off.
What is this We Will Rock You cover?
Yeah.
This is DJ Hurricane featuring Scott Weiland.
Wow. Do you just have that pulled up? Stu Hart with Charmel.
Yeah.
No, I have a thing for cover songs, and I really like this soundtrack.
Oh my god. $1.24 for gas.
It's about what it's at right now.
Yeah, I saw somebody put a thing up. They're like, cheapest in 30 years. I'm like, I'd like to beg to differ. Oh.
I do miss that movies back then had outtakes for their end credits.
I know.
Yep. The best outtake though is Oliver Platt's right here.
Actually punching Macho Man.
And the look on his face like, oh shit.
Good hit there, brother.
All right, should we round this out with what David Arquette is doing right now, 20 years later after this movie?
Yeah, okay, so David Arquette is, I don't know if he still is, I don't think he's taken any bookings, but there's a documentary coming out. You Can't Kill David Arquette, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But David Arquette he made a legitimate run on the independent wrestling scene to prove, because he got kind of sick of everybody talking about how he, stole the world title, blah, 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 with everybody. And he actually made an attempt and retrained to wrestle, and it went around the indie scene and had some decent matches with everybody too. But there is that documentary coming out of him making that run on the independent scene, and has it found a release date yet?
No.
So right now it was supposed to make its South by Southwest debut there, but that was canceled because of this the coronavirus.
Okay.
So it's still looking for an actual release.
Okay.
It's still looking for a distributor.
Yeah,
They
Well.
don't even have a distributor to release it.
they'll find one.
Yeah.
It'll end up on VOD by the end of the year, I'm sure.
I think so too. But most notorious, we've mentioned it as we were kind of watching this, but David Arquette was in a death match, and as opposed, this is me killing the business here, but like when wrestlers actually bleed, they'll take a tiny little sliver of a razor blade and cut the top of their head to make it look like they'll bleed. But David Arquette actually cut his neck in a match and actually came close to dying during this run. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
David Arquette, man.
Dedicated to the art.
So okay. So 20 years later, I think a lot of wrestling fans do say this is one of the nails in the coffin, putting the belt on Arquette. Do you think he's sort of redeemed himself in a way to most wrestling fans?
I think he's really redeemed himself to like the hardcore wrestling fans, like myself. Like I got to give the guy credit for retraining and going on the indie scene for a while there, because he also had a small little cameo in WWE between then and now too. And he had one match, and it's very unmemorable. And to the point where I remember watching that, and people were like, "No, like this is really dumb. Like it just didn't work." So Arquette, like actually going back and training, and then having matches with very notable people on the independent scene, and in addition to like the one that I got to see live was him against Colt Cabana, and Colt's a professional. I mean, Colt knows how to put together a good match. He knows how to, he knows his gimmick. He knows everything like that, and he just worked really well with Arquette in that field here, and he put on a really good match with him. And Arquette, I think, was when he was meeting the fans, was really humble with everybody, and was just trying to have a lot of fun. And I think that's the big thing, is that he redeemed himself, is that he went on the independent scene and just had some fun. So
yeah, I think I agree with that. I think most wrestling fans they're finally past the infamous aftermath of Ready to Rumble and have moved on from that. So yeah, boys, that was Ready to Rumble. What do we guys think of this movie?
That's a movie.
It is a movie.
That's a movie.
It is definitely a product of its time.
100%.
Yeah. I grew up with this movie. I watched it probably a year ago or so. It's not great, but it's definitely one of those cult movies that it's kind of like a train wreck. You just can't help but look at it.
I know. Well, and I mean, you got to watch it for what it is.
during this time.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm surprised WWE hasn't tried something like this, having a scripted movie based on like a storyline like this. I mean, the closest thing that we've gotten is the Fighting with My Family.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
that's about as close as we've gotten.
Yeah.
Do you think WWE has something else left in the tank to keep telling those kind of stories?
I don't think we're far from. I don't know if it'll be WWE produced, because I don't think WWE. It's a very highly sought property to write that Ric Flair movie, I think, and I don't know if WWE will put up the money to do a proper Ric Flair movie. I think there's going to be a big studio who's like, no, we're going to do the Ric Flair movie. We're going to do it right. We're going to cast it. We're going to have somebody big play Flair, and he's going to help with the writing process and everything like that. Whereas WWE will, I think, if there was going to be a Ric Flair movie, it's going to be very pro WWE, which the majority of Ric Flair's career was not very pro WWE. So.
And I don't think you can tell a proper Ric Flair movie with a PG-13 rating either.
I don't think so either. I think, and I'll kind of give it a comparison that like the Bohemian Rhapsody, the Freddie Mercury story. We talked about that during this here, that it should have gone hard R. I still really enjoyed the movie. I'm never going to say that I didn't, but it. You're right. It should have been a hard R, and I think that's the only way to tell a Ric Flair movie.
I 100% agree. I think that's the way to go. Yeah, I think there is stories to be told from kind of the behind the scenes with this stuff, but again, I don't know if the WWE thumb on everything will make that happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ready to Rumble, it's definitely a product of its time. If you kind of want to jump back into what was going on in the wrestling business at the time, especially for WCW, this is a perfect stepping stone, I think, for what was going on then.
Well, and pro wrestling was so hot at the time too. I mean, it was making so much money. I mean, more money than I'd say 90% of the movies that were being released at the time, and that was on a weekly basis that it was making that kind of money. And so somebody like who did this one here? Was it it wasn't MGM, was it? Who?
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. We mentioned that. Yeah, Warner Brothers to hop on top of that with in conjunction to the fact that WCW was owned by Turner at the time too. Just to make a wrestling movie with the money that it had, and a majority of it being wrestlers. So yeah, it wasn't a big budget film by any means, but it was a spoofy comedy based off of wrestling, and I'm sure, I mean, wrestlers enjoy this movie more than anybody because it's so stupid. I mean, if you want to talk about fans of campy comedy, you know, just get a couple of wrestlers in a room together, and you'll have a lot of material to write from. So.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. We're running on almost 2 hours of Ready to Rumble. I think that's enough. That's enough.
We'll have to do this again sometime, though, because this is I like doing these watch-alongs with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We'll figure out something else to watch along with you. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll find something. I don't know.
Maybe something a little better.
Yeah.
Well, I keep making appearances on your shows when it's wrestling related, or if it's Stallone related. So one of these days I'll have to branch out and actually do something that's an actual movie.
Yeah. Or we can just do Rocky 3.
Ooh, there we go. That's a good one. That's a good one. I enjoy that.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But Charlie, where can people find you online if they want to follow you on the social medias?
Absolutely. Well, you know, I don't have much of a presence on Facebook if it's not my personal stuff, but I am a pro wrestling commentator, pro wrestling ring announcer. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. That is at Wrestling Voice 1. That is Wrestling Voice, the numeral 1. Make sure to find me on Instagram and Twitter. You kind of get my day-to-day life. We've got about 8 weeks here that I'm not going to be booked, which really sucks. So yesterday I just hopped on Facebook Live and I did some watch-along commentary with a couple of matches. I did Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle, and then somebody had requested that I do Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle. And then the wild card that we threw in there was Gentleman Jervis versus Orange Cassidy. So I got a little bit of that. I'll do some request a match. So I'm not very technologically savvy, so I'm trying to work on doing some Twitch stuff here soon so I can get some commentary in. So just kind of be on the lookout for that if you are on Twitch. But if you are a wrestling promoter, you can email me, wrestlingvoicecharlie, that's with an IE, at gmail.com. I would love to hear what you got coming up. And then in addition to that, I am also the director of SuperCon here in Sioux Falls. So I'm taking up way too much time for you guys, but SuperCon is still going on for right now. Brian and I have been working very, very hard on a lot of different things with that. I'm just going to put him over, if you will. Brian's worked his ass off with his position. I'm very proud of him and everyone else that has really been doing everything. You know, everybody from cosplay to vendors to our hopeful kids zone to our guests that are coming in. Right now, we'll start making some announcements. We've actually already, before the coronavirus stuff hit, we'll also call out for Fat Dude Digs Flicks. Andy filmed some stuff. Andy's going to be our face on video to make all of our announcements here. So I'm really grateful for this podcast for introducing myself to Andy, because our videos are the few that we have put together that we haven't quite gotten a chance to release yet are absolutely fantastic, and I'm so excited for them to pop up. So be on the lookout for SuperCon's YouTube page. That's spelled like Sioux Falls, SIOUXPERCON. So make sure to follow them. That'll be happening in September, and just to tie that in, we will have a wrestling show for the Friday of SuperCon. So we'll have Midwest All Pro coming in, and I will hopefully be commentating. And everybody's kind of on edge. I just want everyone to continue staying safe, stay indoors, so that for the time being, if you can, that way we can continue having these types of events, and maybe we could do a watch along in person sometime in the near future. So
I like it.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Charlie. I'm going to piggyback off that. Go follow Andy, Fat Dude Digs Flicks. I'm very excited for this the wrestler episode that you guys are going to do here yet today, and hopefully will be out very shortly. So go follow Andy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And he is also on the same podcast services as us: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and YouTube as well. And so, yeah, go follow him there and follow us on all those channels. You can find Backlot 605 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us there. And then backlot605.com for all our latest movie news, reviews, articles, discussions. I think we're going to be ramping up some of the retro reviews, the flashback film segment of the site. So we're going to be ramping those type of reviews back up. So check out some of the older classics that you might have missed. And if you need something to watch at home, I think those will be some really good recommendations that our writer, Jameson Feifel, will be working on. But where can the people find you online?
Who are you talking to?
Talking to Brian.
Did he even say my name, Charlie?
He did not. He just said you.
I said Brian.
Liar.
No, you didn't. Anyway, yeah. Mainly find me on Instagram under LP Freak, and if anybody's inclined, you can also find me on Letterboxd, which is basically the equivalent of social media for moviegoers.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Casey_the horror guy. I'm reviewing every horror movie that I watch on that. And yeah, find me on Letterboxd, Casey Kelderman, all lowercase. You can find me there. And yeah, until next time, thank you all for listening to this episode. Hope you enjoyed our little fun commentary on Ready to Rumble. And thank you once again for Charlie Eccles for joining us on this episode. This was a lot of fun. We'll figure out what we're doing next with you, Charlie.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, guys. I'm looking for anything to fill my time. So it's been
Absolutely.
awesome. So
all right, thank you guys once again for listening, and you can check us out next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.